Welcome back to Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today from Man Reacts. Women. It's a tough time for them to work in the office now that a lot of companies are getting rid of the gender quotas and affirmative action is gone. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. It's chow time.
Women refuse to do more for organizations who have hired them. Yet, they demand those organizations do more for them. Just like in a relationship with men.
Yep.
Part of the problem is that modern women feel entitled to the highest positions in most companies, and although many are smart enough to do it, they just don't have any work ethic and refuse to sacrifice their time and comfort in order to advance the company's objectives and profits.
All right. Work ethic is huge. I have one of the highest work ethics that I know of the people around me, and it's what people tell me. I literally work probably 18-hour days almost every day for a long period of time. When I used to have a gas station with my family, I used to do 20-hour days, 7 days a week for 3 years straight, just because we needed that person there all the time. And I've always worked. I've worked since I was a kid. I worked at a donut shop almost every day. I used to go there at 3 in the morning, work for a few hours, and then I'll have class at 7:30, and then I'll take the bus to school. And I'll usually bring a box of donuts to school. So working to me was like a part of my life. And when I grew up, I saw all these other people, especially women, have no work ethic. Even men, a lot of men have no work ethic, but women, it was worse. Their work ethic was crappier, but they expected a lot more results from their shitty work ethic. And they would complain when my work ethic and other men's work ethics were really high. So they got promotion, they got, what is it called? A raise. And they didn't. So women would get upset. It's the work ethic.
Even when they're trained for leadership positions, they tend to get emotional, start fighting, and creating bottlenecks.
True.
And leave work early without fulfilling their responsibilities. They are never willing to stay longer and work overtime. They will delegate problems and harder tasks to male subordinates, who then have to do not only their own jobs, but also those of their female managers on top, without being paid extra.
How many of you guys have experienced that? A woman boss giving you extra work because you're the man and you're probably like one of the only men there? That's happened to me.
Just so that the work doesn't stop and that every project is finished as planned. I recently talked about this with a friend of mine who works at a global organization that literally has offices in every continent and in most countries around the world. And he agrees. Each department now has a quota that the large organization I'm talking about has to fill up with women. The organization has to make sure that at least 25% of the overall global management has to be comprised of females by the end of 2024.
Isn't that so fucked up that you have to get rid of at least 25% of your male managements to get women into the workforce, into these positions because of these quotas? Even though they might not qualify for the job, you need the women in there to meet the quotas.
And if the organization isn't successful in doing that, it will not be able to secure a place in the Gender Diversity Index. It will also be labeled as an organization that is women-friendly and hence will not be included in the so-called Best Place to Work awards that take place every year. Go on LinkedIn and see for yourself. You will see a bunch of organizations with their posts celebrating their diversity and how they won the Best Place to Work awards. Do you think they really are the best places to work? Think again. Most of them are there only because they added more females to the top leadership positions.
I agree.
I've talked about this previously in my videos as well, and I mentioned the likes of Facebook and Amazon laying off employees.
Google right now is laying off a lot of employees. My friend works for Google. He showed up for work on one of the Mondays. I think it was last week, and 95% of his team just got demolished. They all got let go. He got assigned to a new team, and he was lucky that he still had his job. But Google's planning on laying off like 20,000 workers, and they're all high-powered jobs. They're talking about like executive type jobs, so 100K plus type jobs. 20K of them they're getting rid of. It's gonna be a lot of broke people soon.
The reason they had to do that was because they overemployed people during the pandemic. Now when the pandemic is over, they realize they might not need that many people. People I know who have worked in many such organizations tell me the same thing, that companies are secretly tired of this whole quota rule. The fact that they have to employ women just because they are women is damaging their operational efficiencies.
It is.
You see, women may be capable, but the truth is they never want to sacrifice and put in the hard work. That's another factor in why the wage gap is a myth. Men are willing to do the jobs that women absolutely won't do, like trades, construction, sewer work, and working on an oil rig. They take comfortable jobs that allow them to socialize with other people instead of harder, more dangerous, high-paying jobs, and they don't work extra hours. That's the difference.
The extra hour things is huge. The average hours that women work is so much less. They work an average of what, 33 to 36 hours? Men averages 44, 45 to 40 hours. Like, that's a significant hour difference between just the two sexes. That's almost a day's work worth of hours. So of course men are going to get paid more. Men, we have no life. We don't care. We want the money to be able to support our family and to do the things that we want to do, to be able to save up for a house. Women don't have to do that. They get to spend whatever willy-nilly and meet a man to take care of them later.
Women aren't merely becoming a burden now. It's always been that way, you see.
Yes.
Women's fragility, problematic neuroticism, and narcissism, and less productive natures have always been a burden for companies since all of this started in the late 1960s and 1970s. Women were already a much greater liability with a generally lower return on investment than men, buoyed mainly by feminist social and government pressure. Then the Me Too movement started and changed the dynamics of the workplace. With a declining economy, women's less productive and more neurotic, narcissistic, and company culture troublemaking nature surfaced.
Oh my God. The freaking office politics with women is so ridiculous. You just can't say shit to women. If you say shit to women, they're going to go to HR. If you don't say anything to them, they're going to go to HR. And if you're ugly, they're going to go to HR. You just have to be a good looking Chad to never get to go to HR.
Indicating to companies that they might be a bad investment. Women are becoming a survival liability for companies. More woke government agencies are now trying to legally coerce companies to hire women and force them onto boards of directors. And the woke leadership will likely damage the lives and careers of many employees through no fault of their own and cripple to destroy many of these companies.
Yeah, women's leaderships, they usually goes more social, more rules that are getting put in place. The women get to vote on it now, so they're going to vote more towards egalitarian type things for women.
To the men, get extremely aware of what you're dealing with and mitigate and avoid appropriately. To the companies, you know what you can do, and I'm not here to give you a toolkit on how to do that. Equal rights come with equal responsibilities, but not for women.
Nope.
Women are the darlings of society who can get all the benefits of equality, but barely any responsibility. What they don't tell people about the Me Too movement is that it only applies to women.
It does.
Men who are harassed or assaulted by a female coworker are essentially ignored until irrefutable evidence is provided proving otherwise. Even then, the female is usually counseled and rarely dismissed.
I mean, this was a big news with Terry Crews when Terry Crews came out talking about his incidents. No one cared. Women didn't care for Terry Crews's, sexual harassments, but they only cared about other women being sexually harassed. They don't care about men.
There aren't any other derogatory impacts. They are free to make counter accusations, and that puts the men on the defensive and impacts their careers and future no matter the outcome. Even if proven the female was the aggressor, if a counter allegation is made, he's still finished in that business. Now, fewer women are being hired by large companies because they know that apart from the quotas that they have to fill to keep the shareholders happy, they don't have much to gain from hiring women.
Yep.
But did women bring this on to themselves?
Yep.
Is this a failure of feminism? Let's see. A gender quota does more harm than good.
Tell the truth, any quotas does more harm than good. A lot of these affirmative action quotas that, hire black males or hire minorities in certain fields, these people might not qualify. We should be giving people jobs and opportunities off of merit. You know, if they've earned the merit, they've earned the ability to get those jobs, not just because they are a minority or they're a woman. That doesn't make sense.
It's all about the feminist agenda. Quota is more important than reality in the eyes of the law. The law is sometimes contrary to common sense. I'd rather employ qualified men than not so qualified women out of legal obligation. The bottom line is, reality is more important than quota. The law is contrary to common sense. Men know what it's like to feel like they're a constant threat to women. At any moment, if you even look at a woman wrong, she'll label you a creep. Men are proud. Men will not tolerate this kind of slander and disrespect. This is one of the reasons men are staying away from women at work. The point is, men have a lot more to lose than women in the workplace. A man will lose his whole identity, his means of earnings, and his value in society if a woman falsely accuses him and gets him fired. But a woman doesn't have that much to lose.
Nope.
In fact, a woman will instead sue the organization if it fires her, and she will probably end up earning millions in a legal battle that will show her as the victim.
Yeah.
So, it's a no-brainer that women are now facing tougher times in the workplace. They now have to deal with a lot of skeptical men who are already sort of afraid of dealing with these women in fear of being accused of something they didn't do. On top of that, women have to work twice as hard as before because they now have an idea that organizations are monitoring them to see if they're actually worth the promotion or the leadership positions they were given because of gender quotas. Employers can keep damaging their operations and profitability because of women for only a certain time. If women don't live up to the required standards, it's only a matter of time before they start lobbying against this whole concept of pushing females to senior positions without merit.
Yeah, these companies have bent over backwards over these laws, and pretty soon these companies have enough money to say, you know what, fuck you guys, fuck the government. I don't need women on my force because it's ruining my company. And they're gonna get the laws changed. They have the money to lobby.
You see, organizations are run to generate profit for shareholders and cannot afford to lose their profitability. When they start to lose their profitability, none of this gender quota business is going to work for them. If and when the shareholders don't get their profit, they're going to lobby against organizations being made to instate women at higher management positions. What's shocking is that women managers are also increasingly reluctant to hire women. They find younger women to be less productive and more likely to waste time socializing, causing unnecessary and counterproductive drama in the workplace.
Oh, I get comments like that all the time down below. I get older women in their 50s and 60s talking literally about this. That they get invited to all of the male things because they're older and married and they're less of a liability. They would never invite the young single women to the male meetings and stuff because of the liability. Even women realize this, and they realize that young women are very, very sensitive when it comes to any type of interaction with men. Like, super sensitive.
Also, around the age of 30, younger women realize that their reproductive window is closing and leave to start families, taking their training and experience with them just when they are becoming productive.
And just like Jordan Peterson says, a lot of the high-powered lawyers that are women quit when they're 30, 35 to have a family. And even as much as these law firms want to pay them millions of dollars, these women are not willing to take the job anymore. They want to start the family. So imagine spending so much time and resources to build up a person to become a top law professional in your firm, and they just quit. They don't even want your money anymore. They just want to leave. That sucks.
Companies should have stopped hiring women in prominent roles and other roles years ago.
They should have.
These positions are made for men because men are forward-thinking by nature and aggressive in getting things done for the betterment of the business.
And we're just more in tune to handle stress. Women get overloaded so quickly. I know plenty of women, once things get a little overloaded, they're like this, and it's confusing for them. Yes, I'm not saying men don't get that way too, but more men have like a stable head in their shoulders to where they're like, oh, well, if I fuck up, I'm gonna have to fucking, fix everything myself later, or it's gonna fuck up the company, so I have to get this shit done.
The truth is that men treat work as a place to escape their personal life. From my experience, women like to mix the personal with the professional,
That they do.
and they see nothing wrong with it. It seems fine, up to the point those feelings are hurt. And suddenly, what should be professional feedback becomes a visit to HR for any man involved. And eventually, a loss of his working career, self-esteem, and source of income.
That's some damn good chow. I feel sorry for women, but I also don't feel sorry for them. This is what women pushed for when they pushed for these quotas and pushed for a lot of these things. But women don't want to do the work. It's your fault for not wanting to do the work and putting in the effort to be in those positions in the first place. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.